Well, first of all, thank you for being here on a short notice. But at this point in time, I'm trying to make myself available to as many people as possible. And in the last 2 days since I've arrived on Sunday, as you can appreciate, I'll be quite busy. So what I would like to do today is to share with you maybe some of my observation, and also what is the game plan and what are the expectations. As you know, Insulair has been the subject matter between the government and the shareholders, and therefore Andre and I have a mandate that I will share with you. Number one, we have to do a plan by the end of this month, which is a stabilization plan. Number two, we have to produce a business plan within the next 3 months. And number three, we have to come up with a proposal to how we're going to ensure an open dialogue with all the stakeholders, which means primarily the employees, the shareholders, and also, of course, the media and so on. I'm quite happy to be back in the Eastern Caribbean because I've been working in this part of the world since 1994 when I first joined LIAT. Then I went to BWIA. I spent some time in Cayman, and now I'm here. I know the region quite well. Like I just mentioned, I work from south to north, and I'm happy to be back. I would like to say that the Insulair situation is not unique in itself. I have seen many comparable situations. I've been doing restructuring since 1994, and Insulair is probably my number 8 or 9. So the symptom is the same, but the seriousness varies from carrier to carrier. So therefore, I have to identify what kind of approach that we need to put in place in order to ensure that Insulair will have a long life. Already I had a meeting with the senior management today, and I made them aware of my approach to things. Number one, the most important thing in any business is to ensure that your assets, be physical or human assets, are productive. That's number one. Number two, you have to ensure that all your commercial efforts are being put in the right place and that you secure the best return in terms of revenues. Of course, the operational side is extremely critical. Insulair has gone through some difficulties over the last few weeks that I've read myself in the newspapers, and that's going to be addressed after this meeting today. So we're going to be looking as to how the business could be performing better. We have a big challenge. There are some operational challenges, technical challenges, regulatory challenges. So that is on my immediate business to deal with. Now, when it comes, like I mentioned before, when it comes to the government involvement, we have a responsibility, Andre and I, to ensure that the amount being loaned or lent to the airline is used in the best fashion. And that means that the money has to be used for the current operation and not for the past, the past debt, okay? So as managers, we will have to do a balancing act to secure the use of $15 million for the operation, but when we get to make profit, we will pay the debt. Now, in the meantime, we will be seeking from our partners, the main suppliers, some relief by trying to guarantee the payment of the current debt as we go along, and making a deal for the backlog. Normally, this is how it works, and having been in the business for so many years, I do not anticipate any major roadblocks, but it may happen. But then we'll deal with it when we get there. But for now, the most important thing for us is to bring back the comfort for the passengers that they can fly with us, and also bring back the pride among the employees for being an ancillary employee. Because right now, I think the impact of the situation, not only the financial one, but the technical one and the commercial one, brings a lot of frustration. Okay, and I understand that a couple of days ago there were some major disturbances here at the airport, and that's something that I would avoid at all costs. I've indicated today to the management team that we will be evaluating the entire team. We will be evaluating the structure of the company. We will be evaluating the financial result and the accuracy of the information. If you don't have the right information to build on, then your foundation will remain shaky. So we will have a lot of work to do in the upcoming weeks, and I intend to keep all the stakeholders aware, informed, and also to be available to the media. I'm not afraid of the media. I consider you as a partner, and the only way we can make Ancillary get better is by having everybody on board. I've always believed that negative press, especially today with the internet and so on, it's not good for the airline, it's not good for the country, it's not good for the economy. So therefore, I will be honest with you. I will give it to you straight, and that is the only way to be. So this is why, even though I only arrived on Sunday, I said I want to meet with the media as soon as possible. So without any further comments, I would like to give the floor to all of you, and I will answer your question. If I have the answer, I will give it to you. If I don't, I will tell you, okay? But many of my comments may be based on my experience as an airline professional of 51 years, of which 33 as an executive. So it's all yours. Thank you very much. Andre, you want to say something?
No.
No? I guess he's better known than I am here, so in fact, it doesn't need to be on the floor, I guess. So it's all yours. Well, you was first.
You mentioned
So Friday morning to know the person, okay? And then next week I will meet them again. Now I will meet the manager, and they have a mandate to come back to me as to how they see they're going to fit, they're going to fix the airline as a manager. For me, a department head is a CEO, like I am. And he has the responsibility toward the company, the employees, and the owner. Okay? When I say CEO, for me, it's like this.
I ask you this because in Sleden.
Okay, why not stop at 10 million? Why not at 15? Though there's a signal right there that you have to make a decision. Either you cut your losses, and if you go on, you're going to lose more. But I don't have the information that pertains to that special situation of 100 million.
Maybe your neighbor?
He doesn't know either.
No, not yet.
Okay. But my first reaction when I saw that, and I'm being very honest right now, why did they have to go to 100 million? I don't know. Okay, I really don't know. But that, for me, that is a question that him and I are going to be looking at.
Actually, it's kind of this question: how are you going to make the company profitable again?
Okay, there are this is going to be my experience speaking. Okay, Ancillary is a two module airline. You have the regional airline, and you have the international airline. Okay, you have two fleet type. You have the popular, and you have the jet. And again, I'm talking from experience. More than likely, the popular network is making money. The jet, I don't know yet, because the passenger profile is totally different. The short haul passenger pays more on a per mile basis, and the long haul pays less because there's more competition. You have to lower your fares and so on. And I understand that here, the regional is almost like a monopoly. So I would tend to say that the regional is the core of the business, is the one supporting the international. Will we have to shrink? I don't know. We have to consider also the current situation with regards to the jet fleet, with the Aruba situation, okay? And these are things I'm going to be talking about with the heads of the maintenance and flight operation within the next 48 hours. But yes, there could be a shrinking, and then to get better afterwards. Right now, the airline needs to be stabilized. It's just like if I can make some kind of a comparison, there is a patient in the waiting room that needs attention, but we don't know to what degree, okay? And our role right now is to do the diagnosis of the patient and say, okay, fine, what can we do immediately to stop the bleeding? And if it means we have to shrink back to rebuild afterward, maybe that's one possibility.
How much time are you going to give yourself to do this?
I would say no more than a week. Yeah, okay? If the information is right. Because it doesn't take long to understand if the numbers are right or not, okay? It doesn't take long. To give you one example, on the last airline that I worked on, it took me 2 months to do the business plan. We're allowing ourselves 3 months. But I wouldn't be surprised if by probably the end of March, the latest middle of April, that the business plan will be produced.
Which
Okay?
airline was that?
Pardon?
Which airline was that?
Which one you want to know?
The last one.
The last one is Air Madagascar. Okay? And before that, I did Liat, I did Caribbean Star, I did Caribbean Sun, and BWA. These are all airlines that work here in the region. So, so this is why. To answer your question, I don't know the status of the airline as yet from operational, commercial, and technical. I'm going to find that out very, very quickly.
Are you going to lay off people because there are already 100 people sitting at home? Are they going to come back to help, or are they going to be laid off?
Again, this morning I told the heads of the airlines, when you're going to come back to me next week, you're coming back to me as a manager, as a CEO of your own department. You will have to support every person in your department, and not because that's the way it is. I want information that are quantifiable, and I can discuss any matters with any group within the airline. The only thing that I didn't do was to be a pilot and be a mechanic. But I don't need to be a pilot because my job as a CEO is to ensure we maximize the flying hours. I don't need to know how to fly an airplane, but I need to know how we get to maximize the productivity. And the same thing in maintenance. I don't need to know how to put a boat. But if I need information, I only go to the maintenance manual, take it out. Okay, we change an engine, 12 hours. Okay, but I can show people how to plan better. Planning is the key to success. Okay, and sometimes, unfortunately, I preach what we call in the accounting world the ZBB, the zero-based budgeting, where every year when you do a budget, you take a white piece of paper and you don't look back, you look ahead. What do I really need? And that's what we're going to do right now. To answer your question, if we're going to be further layoffs, I don't know. I would say there are possibilities, but when that happens, we will let you know. Okay? Yes, sir.
What about the strategic partner?
Well, the strategic partner has been raised before my time, and I understand it's still a matter that is going on. It's not of our responsibility as a CEO and the CFO. It's a responsibility that is signed between the government and the shareholders, and it's a responsibility of the shareholders to pursue that avenue. It's not my responsibility nor his.
What's your opinion?
Well, there are some elements. Any partner that's going to buy in, I will ask you a question. Would you buy a company, put money in, where you're buying the debt? No. So that could be a roadblock. But like I said, we're not involved in the negotiation of the search for a strategic partner. But if we can assist, we will. I have contacts in the airline industry all around the world, so if I can assist the shareholders, I'll be more than pleased to do so. But it's not part of my responsibility.
How are you going to secure the employment and the safety of all the employees at this time?
You like to repeat again, please?
How are you going to secure the safety and the employment of all the employees?
Well, right now, we are planning to meet the employees tomorrow afternoon. For me, it's
From
extremely...
all departments?
Yes, will be a meeting called for all employees tomorrow afternoon at 4 o'clock, where we will inform them of what is taking place, what is our game plan, how we're going to proceed about it, what are the timeline, and so on. So if we don't get the employees on board, we're going to fail. That is, for me, it's a very, very important element. We got to bring back a smile on the employee's face at the counter, okay? You got to treat them as partners. They have their own needs, and they need, right now, they need security, they need comfort. Nothing is ever secure, but we need to bring to them dialogue, a constant dialogue. I always believe that the major cause of divorce is the lack of communication. And when you don't communicate, that's what you get. So my main objective is to create a continuous dialogue with the employee group, be pilots, flight attendants, maintenance people, ground personnel, support group, and so on. So this is why, as I did insist on meeting you today, I also did insist to meet the staff tomorrow. So you see, you're quite lucky. You get priority.
Yes, good afternoon. You were introduced and you call yourself CEO, but before this, we have met a different CEO. Can you tell us exactly what your position is within the management team?
Okay, well, maybe I made maybe a faux pas because of my former experience. I'm called the executive chairman of the management board.
The chairman of the management board.
That's correct. Executive chairman.
Okay.
Of course, all of the department I have a responsibility for. And I cannot do everything, so the responsibilities are shared among some X number of people. So my role as a executive chairman is to drive the two plans that I spoke about, the stabilization plan and the business plan for the next 3 months. So that's going to be my main focus. Of course, keeping an eye on the regulation. And today I was quite very, very blunt, if I can use the word, that I will not tolerate any violation of the regulation. Simple as that. Because for me, safety is of the utmost importance. You know, in all of my career, I never had any accidents. I did have incidents where I had a tail strike or a hard landing and so on, but I never had any accident. And I like to sleep well at night. So therefore, how can I say this? My condition when it comes to safety, my tolerance level is 0. Okay? So, yeah, you're right.
And just to be sure, the management team is still in place?
For now.
Yeah.
For now. They were told this morning. I said, I'm talking to you. We're going to be meeting on Friday to get to know you as a person. and then I will meet the manager. Because it is quite important to understand, unfortunately, in the airline business, we tend to promote good technician, very good technician. And that's what I call the hard skill. And we leave the soft skill on the side. And the soft skill being, are you a leader? Can you communicate? Are you a team player? And the hard skill you can learn. These skill, you can learn a bit. But basically, you had them inside of you, okay? So you, even though you have the best technician in the world, you would have the worst business. Okay, so this is why I'm taking the time to evaluate each and every one of them. And if there is a need to be replaced, there will be a replacement. I always try to get the people from within, because one of the things that I like to do is to train people. I am available to them. I said, whatever experience that I've gone through in the past, my knowledge and so on, is there for you. It's up to you to ask me questions. I will give you the answers, or even by the way that I behave during the course of the business, people can learn. But the balance of the soft skill and the hard skill for me is extremely important, because you're dealing with people.
Question. What we're hearing right now is has to do a lot with the future, near future, and to keep the company operating. But what about the problems that we have right now, the delays with what's going on at the
Yeah, like I mentioned before at the beginning, the focus right now is to stabilize what's going on. And I'll be quite blunt. If it means we have to stop flying for one destination for a few days, I'll do it. We need to stop the hemorrhage and start back. If we need to do that, we will do it. You know, you cannot push back the problem every 24 hours. Okay, so you have to cut, and then tomorrow we start fresh with all the tools that we have in hand, with the amount of flight that can be done, and so on. So there's going to be there's a need for that to happen, if it has to happen. Right now, today, I was informed that some of the airplane would be put back on the line, so that's going to bring some relief, okay? But until I see that, and that's going to be part of my discussion this afternoon, after I'm done here.
Did you have a chance to talk with the Civil Aviation Authority to?
Oh, yes,
That's
I
all
spoken, they were in fact, again, to show you how much safety is important to me. They were my first contact, even before with people from Woodin and Salaire. My first meeting on Monday morning at 9:30 was with the Curacao Civil Aviation. So just to give you, okay.
Mr. Bryce Fisher of the Civil Aviation said on the press conference on Sunday that probably safety has not always been first priority. Probably, I must be frank with you, he said to me.
Well,
Can you comment on that?
safety, you can judge by the different circumstances that take place, that comes about. You see, within the airline industry, there's a system, what we call SMS, Safety Management System. And when that system is applied, it gives you an indicator that if you keep going that way, you're going to go from green to yellow to red. And I don't know if that system has been applied in the right way, in the right fashion.
Or did you discuss it with Mr. Fisher?
Yes, I did discuss with Mr. Fisher many things, and that was one of them. And one of my concerns right now is that the quality department within the airline, and then it's only a very quick assessment. I would like to be much at ease with the quality department than what I know now. It's only when I'm going to sit down with the quality group and say, okay, talk to me about what's going on here, okay? Because there are too many incidents that took place. And again, it's not to put the airline at fault. I'll give you one example that happened to me this weekend. I understand that the MD fleet was grounded because of a pressurization problem in Aruba. I come up on Sunday on Air France, and Air France is not a small carrier. And on pushback, they were doing the test that they're supposed to be doing, like depressurization. The captain comes on and said, we have a problem with pressurization. We need to look at it. We sat on the airplane for 4.5 hours. They fixed it. So if Air France is allowed to have a pressurization problem without being grounded, you have to ask yourself, what's behind that? What is behind the fact that one event caused the grounding of the airplane?
You know the answer?
I'll find out, okay? But there are reasons. Are they technical, operational, or conflictual? Okay, sometime in the airline industry, I sit my way, you sit your way, then we go into a conflict. Maybe this is the case, I don't know, but I will find out, that's for sure. Okay, and the same thing here. No, in Curacao, not everything is perfect. I just spoke about Aruba, but even here, it's not like you said. There are some frictions. Okay.
As experienced as you are, is the $18 million enough to at least stabilize the company?
Oh, 15 million, you're asking me a $1 million question. Okay, I don't know as yet, okay? However, I can tell you this, if the numbers are right, I think if we do act quickly, it should be sufficient, okay, from my experience. But this being said, I need to understand with Andre as soon as possible to be confirmed, to be at ease with the numbers, to be at ease with the base. You know, if you have a cement mix of that you should have 80-20 in sand and water, but you have the reverse, you get shaky, right? So this is why we need to understand that.
You have only been here since Sunday, but in the beginning of your press conference, you mentioned the example of a patient and a
Yeah.
doctor.
Yeah.
Have you already been able to determine how sick the patient is?
Well, if I look at the reading card, okay, at the patient card, through the media and through the comments from the civil aviation and so on, there's a lot to be done. There's a lot of patching up to be done because the blood is not coming out from one area, but several areas. And this is where I need to work very closely with the Curacao Civil Aviation, and I am right now, okay? In fact, we were in touch again today for about five times. So I mean, for me, the Curacao Civil Aviation is extremely important to get back on track. And this is why this morning I said, I will not tolerate any more violation. Okay?
Anymore?
No more, okay? So that was quite clear.
And you're in charge with Incelera Aruba too?
Yeah, I'm in charge of 3 companies. Right now there's Incelera Curacao, Incelera Aruba, and there's also another company that owns the airplanes, okay? And that the government also has the right to look at.
What is the name of that company that owns the...
Good question, I don't know.
Does Andre know?
That's a lease company for the, yeah, no.
But you don't know the name?
If it's Dutch, I cannot.
Is it possible to get some more detailed information about how many planes Intel Air actually owns, how many are leased, how many are on the ground?
If my own memory serves me right, from what I saw, it's 14. And right now they have about 9 that are active, with the four in Aruba. And sorry, the bulk of the fleet is the Fokker fleet, the 50-seaters and the 70-seaters, and they have the MD. So one of the things, just to share some comment with you, What we need to understand also, going back to the fleet size, quite often an airline will try to meet the peak of the peak. Let's say July and August are the biggest month in terms of traffic. And the company will try to meet that. But because they want to meet that, they end up buying more assets, more people, and so on. And the other 10 months, they lose money. So that's one of the things I need to understand. How is demand and supply match? And because normally, in any airline, you should go after about 85% of a year-round demand and not meet the peak demand. So these are some of the airline technique that we're going to use to try to improve the profitability of the airline. And this is what I was saying before, to your point, yeah, there may be some shrinking, I don't know, but I need to understand the numbers.
You're right now leasing 2 airplanes. For how long?
I don't know. I'm not at that detail level yet. I know that I came on board a flight from St. Martin to Curacao on a foreign airplane. I was flying on behalf of Insulair. Those, I can tell you this though, those rentals are no cheap. I was told the price of it. And for that price, I could probably get an Airbus 340, which is double the size. And for another $1,000, I could get a 777 per hour. So that gives you an idea of how much is being spent in order to maintain the service. Okay?
Insulair is a private company, just before the government stepped in for a temporary period. Is there a difference in managing a public-owned airline business or a private-owned? I mean, with your experience of 8 or 9 companies?
For me, no, and I will tell you why. I have a business principle that that I always tell the customer, who is either the government or anybody else. Number one, I want the respect of the chain of command. I report to the board, and the board may get orders from the owners or from the government. That's their business. And when they get the order, we'll talk about it, and if we agree, we're going to proceed, or I can give my opinion. So from that point, from that standpoint, when you go from there, be private or government, I'm there to do a job, and let me do my job. If you don't like the plan, tell me, and we'll try to realign it. If we can, you have an option. I can go, or you can fire me. But as an airline person, if every day you get intervention into the management of the airline against a plan that's always been approved, you're wasting your time. You're wasting your time. No, it happened to me with a carrier where the owner walked into a meeting one night. I had a meeting with the pilot, and the owner came in and sat down beside me, and he took over the meeting. At the end of the meeting, I stood up to him and said, "Here are my keys. You just broke the deal by coming in and taking over the show. I'm now becoming a rubber stamper, and that's not what I'm here for." Okay? So this is why, for me, government or private, in this kind of situation, a doctor needs a carte blanche.
You have talking in front of all these cameras. What would you say to the people who live on Curacao, the people who just bought a ticket with Insulair? What would you tell them? What can you tell them to
Bring back comfort?
bring back comfort?
Yeah, I mean, you can only do that through performance, okay? And that's what I want to do tomorrow. I want to make sure that the performance gets back to standard within the next 24, maximum 48 hours. The last carrier that I ran in Madagascar, when I got there, for instance, people were complaining about the on-time performance. Then after 6 months, I got a call. I said, "What's wrong with you guys?" I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "We don't hear about you anymore." Okay? So that's what it means. Performance and the word of mouth is fast. So this is what we're going to try to do, to ensure that what we, we promised to deliver will be delivered. And that means making the schedule that coincide with the fleet. And the fleet, you need to have a good planning plan, a good maintenance plan, sorry, okay? Because everything, like I was telling them this morning, I have a sense that in Insular, everything is being dealt with in silos. That's my impression, okay? And you got to break these silos and get the people to work together. And that, again, tomorrow I'm going to say the same thing to the employees. So you need to work as a group and not, I'm a pilot, I'm a flight attendant, I'm a mechanic, and so on and so forth. And you have to exchange. Yes, sir.
The situation with Insular now, can you compare it to one of the other companies that you have been working in the past? And how long did it take and what was the result?
Well, let me give you some comparison compared to the region, okay? Liat, I took Liat over in July 1994, and by November 1994, we were making money, and they had their first Christmas party over the last 5 years, okay? So depending on the level of how deep is the pain, BWIA took me about 9 months, because BWIA is more of an international and regional and so on. So when you deal with the international part, it's harder to deal with because the international takes more time to sell. As a regional, you sell every day and you go today and come back tomorrow. But the international, it takes 3 to 6 months of preparation and advertising and so on. So and just what I was saying before, maybe in the case of Insular, it's going to be probably, I would say, 4 or 5 months. That's my best guess right now. It could be a bit more, but it'll be sure before the summer. That's going to be my goal. Any more questions? That's it. Well, again, thank you for being here, and please be very much at ease if you need any information and so on. And I'm available. I will be more than pleased to take your call. Okay. I don't see you as an enemy. I see you as a partner.
Finally.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.